Rob McCallum here for Box Art, joined alongside Doug and Nicole from Retro City Games, of course, producing Box Art with me. We've been on the road now for, 5 days, guys? 6?
6 days.
Almost 6 days here. And how's the trip gone so far? How would you describe that first day?
Awesome.
And in what capacity was that awesome?
Every.
And what does that mean? Maybe let our listeners know what you mean by every awesome capacity.
First day, 20 straight hours of driving. That was great.
And how many were you awake for?
2?
2?
4.
Are we talking consecutive hours?
It's a very nice, very long nap.
Uh-huh. Doug, how would you describe that 19-hour drive from Las Vegas to Seattle where we've done the bulk of our shooting?
Oh, man.
Right.
Yeah. I've kind of like blocked it out a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And that's kind of how we were driving, just zoned out. Like the proverbial drool was like pouring down our mouths. It was just mind-numbing.
Yeah, it was a full-on severe science experiment, eyes peeled back to keep them open. And
So Rob, more importantly, I don't really care how you felt about the whole drive, but how about that last 2 hours?
Yeah, no, I was on jitter alert with my street luge passenger chair that doesn't quite support any neck activity at all. Everybody listening, if you can imagine being in the passenger side of a van chair and it being on a 45-degree angle with no support for your neck, and you're hoping. It's basically a coffin sled.
Yeah, you pull the headrest forward, and the second any pressure's applied, it just slides on back.
He just slides them back. So,
like a luge.
for everybody that don't know, of course, Box Art is our docu-series that we're all producing that looks at the industry of video game cover art and the illustrators responsible for it, mainly because people don't know who these people are, and as well as the industry as a whole in the evolution of what cover art is, where it's going, and even the emergence of concept art as maybe a new form of cover art. We've done 3 key interviews so far. We have another one tomorrow that takes me to Vancouver, don't you know, buddy? And we have a big panel at PAX on the weekend, which is very exciting. You guys were part of the first round that we shot at E3 as well, and now you've got 3 more interviews that you've kind of seen in the flesh. What have you guys learned, or what some of your experiences are? We can go back to E3 if you like. We can just tackle this week. What do you think?
For me, it's not having expectations. There's certain people that we interviewed that I expected to say certain things, or I expected the interview to go in a certain direction, and it just absolutely didn't.
What do you mean by that? Because now I'm curious. Now you're taking this in a different direction that I don't expect.
I don't really want to. I can't give away details, but
give away a detail. Give us some context. Or are you just making this up on the spot?
Okay. I was expecting. Okay, when we talked to Trip.
Okay, Trip Hawkins,
at E3,
founder of EA.
First interview we did, we started off big.
Doesn't get much bigger than Trip.
I was expecting him to have a little more hands-off, approach to the box art, where it was almost his team doing it, especially because of the way EA is now.
Sure.
And what they've become. Which isn't a bad thing. It's just I didn't expect him to really have all the little intricacies of where the box art came from, and some of the things he said, like just drawing conclusions that where it was always speculation. Like the original box design for his stuff did come from for PC. The gatefold came from album design.
Right. So video game is taking inspiration from another medium.
Yeah, and to me that was a bombshell because everybody always kind of assumed it, but him saying no, we approached the same companies that were doing the packaging for records at the time and said, hey, how can we do this? And they came back and said, oh yeah, we can do the same thing, only cheaper. And then it evolved into what we knew as PC packaging back in the day.
Sure. Nicole, out of all the interviews that you remember, what is like one of the moments that stands out to you that was either like a complete game changer, pun intended, or just something like, that's really cool that we got to hear that?
It was probably today with Brom.
So we filmed with Gerald Brom. Brom, of course, is what he goes by for his professional name. Huge artist.
I think Gerald.
No, definitely Brom.
Definitely.
Huge artist. Responsible for stuff like Doom 2, Diablo 2, Heretic. The list goes on and on. TSR, of course, for almost half a decade. Magic the Gathering. What moment stands out from that interview?
Just the fact that he took on the Doom 2 cover art because he was a fan. That was just awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, he flat
That
out
was-
didn't want to take on a project, and when they said, "Oh, it's Doom 2," he was like, "Ah."
Okay. Like that was great. That was awesome.
You can see even today. You could see how tired he was thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like, just already having that workload, and him just thinking back, going, "Oh, I really didn't want to do it, but you can't pass up Doom."
Yeah,
Like-
so to give some context for everybody, this was when he went freelance after a nice comfy gig with TSR for a few years. And then as a freelancer, it's hard to say no to anything but it's 7 days a week. You know, you have a wife, so you're trying to make time for family and the things to keep you sane. And then this opportunity comes along, and he still could not say no to that. So, very cool. I think for me, one of my key moments was talking with Tim Gervin, which heads up a design agency in Seattle, and just hearing him illustrate the way in which he was working with Nintendo to provide them a cohesive brand identity. And I guess the big thing that you could say that Tim did, for the NES era at least, was he was the one that instituted that red stripe across the box of the later run of the NES title. So for any collector out there or any NES fan, you'll know at the top it'll say Nintendo Entertainment System in a red stripe. And that was for a very obvious reason. He noticed that when you went into a game store in that time, you couldn't tell Nintendo stuff from Sega stuff. So he thought, why not make sure every game, regardless of publisher and developer, had that on the top. So you look at something like Warrior Woods, and it's right on the top.
Well, even in the packaging of the systems in later releases,
Yeah.
the original ones didn't, and then
There's cohesion across the board.
even that aesthetic, that blockiness and the stripe feel carried well into the Super Nintendo era. I mean,
And let's not
very
forget,
much-
when we're talking about a major thing for box art, and people will be able to hear this from the horse's mouth in the docu-series, he was the one that instituted the portrait to landscape shift
Yeah.
from the NES titles, which were in portrait, to landscape, which is what the SNES became.
again to differentiate. Like he said, you have to design a fixture around the packaging.
Yeah.
And he said it's going to set us apart from everybody else, and it really did. I mean, that horizontal view, and it really pulls you from left to right instead of looking straight up a column. You have to look at everything.
Yeah, and it's different. And I know we've got some artists on board that were caught in the middle of that transition where it wasn't communicated to them that things had changed from portrait to landscape. And when we interview them, I'm sure they'll discuss, how they handled the switch, whether they repainted or just, cropped in, so to speak.
Again, without giving away too much,
I feel like you're giving away too much. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
no. You even see the way some of the original paintings were cropped.
Yeah.
And the way some of that artwork was really had to be cut down to fit, because you could tell either the artist didn't know which way they were going to go with it, and some of the artists said that.
Yep.
But also, it's you don't know how they're going to use it.
Right.
It could have been before that shift was made, and now the packaging's different, but we're not going to throw away the art. This whole thing's designed around that art, so it has to go, and it's recropped and repositioned. Even the placement of the logos changed everything, and what it covers up, what it doesn't, and kind of that askew where there's more background in the picture than in the art than not. But yeah.
And tomorrow I head to Canada, as I mentioned. We're filming actually with another one of our producers who happens to have a pretty unique collection of original canvases. And I have no idea what I'm going to see when I meet with Dan tomorrow. I don't know what he's pulled from his collection. I don't know how many pieces. I'm curious to know how we got into that. This does not sound like a cheap hobby to get into it. It seems like a very niche collectible arena.
This I will not spoil, but just the few that we've seen,
Yeah.
via text and
Messaging
messages
back
and
and
stuff
forth
like
and
that,
email.
is quite impressive.
It's very cool to see these box covers that we know and love, but in a larger than life way. And we talked with Brahm today about the difference between seeing something digitally on a screen and seeing it in person. And you guys are staying behind because you got some stuff to take care of for the production, but I'm going ahead forward to Canada, so I get to see some of those acrylics and oils in person. Nicole, what do you think it's going to be like as I walk in there and see that stuff? What are you predicting for this footage? Because I know when I get back, you guys are going to be like, so show me the stuff.
I think it's gonna be like almost emotional, because I mean it's like memories, but like you're seeing what created those memories.
Yeah.
Like, but
It's
so jealous.
It's the image is already so powerful, I think, and for a lot of your favorite games, and whether it's good or bad art, it's still
It's
emotional
art.
too.
It's still
Yeah, I mean, the game can be amazing and the art can be terrible. We all know Mega Man, but
I love the Mega Man art. I will go on record saying, it is not reflective. It doesn't have a painterly Renaissance quality to it. But that Mega Man 1 art, and Mega Man 2 for that matter, I think are gorgeous for all the defective reasons that people want to lobby.
it's quality art. It's horrible in relationship to the game itself.
I think it's beautiful. I would hang that anywhere.
But I think
You wouldn't hang that canvas up if you had it?
I'm not saying I wouldn't. Have
Yeah,
it.
that's exactly. Yeah.
But what I was getting at is there's a difference between looking at the image on the box and seeing the original painting.
Sure.
That, I mean, not that that's one that we'd see, but it's just an example of you see the emotion in the brush strokes and in the texture on the canvas. There's just something more tangible to it because it really is tangible. I mean, there's something special to that.
So Nicole, as we wrap up here, what do you think people can expect when the series comes out, the 6 episodes that'll make up season 1? How would you describe, based on the interviews that we have and knowing what's coming, in the car you started to really kind of eloquently put what you've noticed come out of some of this. Do you remember what you were saying?
I think, well, no.
No.
I don't remember. No.
You were talking about the flow, but now that
I
you've seen
think
a
it's
few
really
people.
Interesting. It's really interesting to see, like, as a fan, from, like, start to finish, like, how this stuff, like, became, how it, like, started, and how, different artists who had different roles really formed the structure for box art. I mean, it's so interesting
And that collaboration with the behind the scenes people and that
yeah.
evolution.
I mean, it's interesting that there was so many people involved in one part of the game as a whole. It's incredible.
Doug, what would you say or foreshadow or tease out there that people can expect in this series based on the handful of material that we've been able to capture so far?
The biggest wow moments for me, and I think will be for the viewers as well when the series is done, is all the speculation put to rest. There's so many things that were either completely unknown because no one had ever asked the question to the right person, and there's so many things that everybody had just assumed that I'll tell you a lot of those things were right, and there's a few of them that were dead ass wrong. Just
Sure.
completely wrong. And to me, some of those were, it's subtle things, but it changes the whole way you view the process. For better or for worse, which I think that the technical and the actual procedure behind everything threw me off a little bit.
No predictions or teases from me. As the writer-director of the series, I think it's going to be nice for people to actually get to know some of the people that we sit down and interview, so it just won't be a series of sound bites. You'll get to spend half an episode or sometimes maybe a whole episode with some of these participants as they share their story and the behind-the-scenes look, behind the canvas, if you will, as we rip through the different eras of video game box art and cover illustrators. Yeah, get ready to go to Canada and rip up there tomorrow.
Gotta get the persona started.
Yeah, gotta get her going and get some Timmies in me. So from myself, Rob McCallum, and Douglas
Hoibu.
and Nicole. You guys are just supposed to say goodbye and cheers.
Bye. Cheers.
Cheers, even
That's
though I'm not
Canadian,
going to Canada.
That's okay. And from myself, we'll catch you guys next time.